His images of the rich, the powerful, the destitute strip away any pretension, revealing aspects of character that can surprise, even shock the subject. He applied the same clinical appraisal to his self-portrait, Avedon by Avedon. He's one of the world's leading photographers, and he talks to Diane Sawyer.
Create some sort of idea. He's carrying her away, every dream. You can be helping her. Up she goes, way up, wonderful. The hair isn't eccentric enough. It just looks like old hair. Looking at someone back there who's chasing you. There you go. An elbow.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
A fashion model in flight. It must be an Avedon. The defeated stare of a coal miner. That's an Avedon, too.
You may say I'm a dreamer.
Poets, revolutionaries. Through his lens, their faces will tell you something about life. Their words and public poses never do. A commander-in-chief grows old after his heart attack and sees the final enemy.
I wanna be loved by you.
A woman spends 4 hours putting on her makeup, then sags from the burden of being Marilyn.
And I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow.
The thundering champion of segregation, now nearly deaf, in a wheelchair with only his black valet at his side. Avedon has said in time, everybody's face is pretty much the truth.
I think my face is beginning to take on my character, and it didn't before.
Avedon by Avedon, today and back when he started.
It was pretty in the wrong way. The young face had nothing to do with the way I felt. I grew up thinking I was certifiably stupid. I couldn't graduate high school. I flunked hygiene. I flunked, do you want to bury it? I flunked everything.
Was the camera a refuge from words?
Yeah, that's exactly the truth of it.
So his new autobiography uses pictures to tell the story of a rich journey through American life. Like that day in 1952, when Charlie Chaplin, who'd been branded a communist, came to Avedon's studio hours before the IRS forced him to flee the country.
I did my picture, and he said, "Are you done? Could I do something for you?" And I said, "Yes, of course." He said, "Are you ready?" And he put his head down. He said, "Are you ready?" And he came up with a grin and these horns. That's his last message to America. What a devil. What a bad guy am I.
Avedon was there, too, in 1963, when the corpulent Daughters of the American Revolution forbade a black singer from performing at Constitution Hall. That singer, Marian Anderson, simply sang outside in the cold. In 1976, he captured the powerful Secretary of State, deflated by self-consciousness.
He looked at me and said, "Be kind to me." That almost stopped me. I had to think, what does he mean?
Avedon says his job is to show people as they are. But it was such a shocking notion when he began. Critics called him brutal. For instance, in this portrait of legendary wit Dorothy Parker, after the laughter died.
But didn't it bother you not to have people just love them afterwards?
What was rough in those days was to be accused of being cruel, as if my job was to be a cosmetician.
Did the Duke and Duchess of Windsor say anything about their photograph?
She said she would destroy me. So I think that picture upset her. I think it's a really compassionate photograph of the two of them, considering the fascist anti-Semites they were.
And considering something else Avedon knew, that the love affair was over, crushed by disappointment. Avedon first learned about public faces and private dreams as a little boy in a tiny apartment in New York City. He pasted images of the outside world on his bedroom wall. And today, he still has a wall of treasured images and memories. His father owned a dress shop. His family fantasies came from the fashion magazines.
When I was a boy, my family took great care with our snapshots. We dressed up, we posed in front of expensive cars, homes that weren't ours. We borrowed dogs. This is of me and my mother, and some dog. This is my sister with some dog. All of the photographs in our family album were built on some kind of lie about who we were and revealed a truth about who we wanted to be. My mother had to do with our image. It was keeping up the front. A dynamite woman. She started sculpting at 76. She's 95.
I want to love. It's true. Yeah, that's true. I know I do. I know I do. Give me what I cry for. You got it.
His father gave him his first camera, but disapproved of the son who dropped out of high school and wound up snapping ID photos for the Merchant Marines. After the war, Avedon was sent to Paris by Harper's Bazaar, where he revolutionized fashion photography, liberating frozen mannequins to become women with real lives. He was such a phenomenon that in 1957, a movie, Funny Face, was based on his life.
Now, when I say go, walk down with fire in your eyes and murder on your mind. You're furious at Trista. That's great. Now, ready?
Fred Astaire was my first role model. I didn't know how to grow up and be a man when I was a kid. I was a runt. And here was someone who wasn't John Wayne, who was this funny-looking guy who got the girl, you know, and what a girl.
Audrey Hepburn by Avedon. Fred Astaire did get the girl in the movie. Avedon married model Do Noel without the happy ending.
She told me that she had fallen in love with someone else. And what was he? 6'2", everything I wasn't, blonde, jock, actor that she had met, I cracked.
Heartbreak horrible?
I would have crawled to the Bronx on my knees to bring back Doe back.
In 1951, he married again, Evelyn Franklin. They had a son, John, who would grow up to be a writer. But he and his wife decided to live separately years ago. It is the camera that is his only lifetime companion. Together, they have made a fortune from the ads he created for print and TV.
You want to know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing.
I dread to think what became of her.
The distinctive work of a man who loves women with secrets.
Dearest.
Smart women who still like a little forbidden fruit. Actress Natasha Kinski.
At the moment that she was completely relaxed, he kissed her. There were feminists who were really offended by that photograph. And I said, whose dream is this? The snakes, necessarily, or Natasha's?
Avedon's dreams are in his photos of fashion models with irresistible imperfections. Lauren Hutton, Isabella Rossellini, Angelica Houston. He discovered them all.
My women had a certain eccentricity. They've invented themselves. There was never and will never be another Verushka. There will never be, well, Jean Simpson was just plain beautiful. There'll never be another Twiggy.
They're reviving a sort of Twiggy look. I mean, the Kate Mosses of the world, the very narrow. Doesn't intrigue you?
Who wants to look at those empty sockets? Like they're open-minded, which means they're empty-headed. You can put anything in there. It's just too exhausting to have to spend a day or an afternoon with most of those models. There's only one model who interests me, it's Stephanie Seymour.
This is a photo shoot for Gianni Versace. One of a handful of fashion assignments he's taken in 10 years.
Do you fall in love a little bit each time?
It's sort of demeaning to the word love, but when I'm working at my best, I have to feel something for the girl, and I do.
It took him 7 years of work to document the hardscrabble American West, including this famous photo of a beekeeper willing to be stung. Today, Avedon is the first and only staff photographer at the august New Yorker magazine, which asked him to write in pictures an essay about Camelot, 30 years after the lights grew dim. 30 years after Jackie Kennedy picked him to take the official photographs of the new first family. In his recent session with young Congressman Joe Kennedy and his fiancée, the 70-year-old photographer was still on his game.
There was that new study that was done that says that, you know, the most active part of your
This
Go
is
ahead.
going to be a compliment
Sexual
now.
life.
Yeah.
It's in your 60s and 70s now.
That's the man who owns one.
It's vintage Avedon, a sunny disposition amid the stark realism, as he photographs our common humanity as we all march toward death. This man was dying of cancer when Avedon decided to document the bravery and the horror. A critic asked, what kind of man could do this to his own father?
I mean, was it an act of murder with my camera? I don't know.
Do you think he knew others would see it?
I showed him maybe the third sitting, and he said, Dick, how could you do this to me? I didn't answer. I put it in writing. When he was dead, that letter was in his jacket pocket. So the guy got it.
Is death a friend or an enemy in your photographs?
It's an inevitability. I believe absolutely in nothing. I believe that we come, we go, we're dust. There is no one, there could be no higher order to this.
This is what it's always been for me. That some little guy goes into... I mean, I get crazy when I think of this because this is what I really believe. That maybe when I'm long gone, some kid who is the kid I was, who isn't even born yet, is going to look on the wall and look at a picture or open a book and feel less alone. He's going to think, oh, someone felt like I feel. That's enough for me. That's all it is for me.
Coming up, undercover cameras confirm what many women have known all along. Sexual discrimination is still very much with us. That's next on 2020.